I'm not sure who just wooed, but I feel like that really kind of set the bar here. Going first is a lot of pressure, you guys. Well, I just want to start off by saying Happy Pink Shirt Day, everybody. I see a few pink shirts out in the crowd, and really, really excited to be here. This is the first time that the Canadian Centre has been here at the COYO conference, and we're really glad to be here. So I'll just get started on our presentation here. So as I was so kindly introduced, the Canadian Centre is a national charitable organization. We are based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, and we operate a number of national programs that all center around reducing the incidences of missing and sexually exploited children. All of our programs are national and are available at largely no cost for our families that we work with and for our service providers that we connect with. I'm going to focus really on our education side of the house, but please know that we do have a couple of support and intervention programs as well, where we actually provide direct support to families. So in terms of our history, I always like to start here because we are very, very much at heart a grassroots charitable organization. We were started as a child find organization by Wilma and Cliff Dirksen after the unfortunate abduction and murder of their daughter Candace in 1985. As many of you will see, Candace's trial is actually in retrial right now in Manitoba, and so we're all sort of anxiously awaiting the outcome of that. But we're still very, very connected to our roots and to the Dirksen family, and that's just important for you guys to sort of have an understanding of where we came from. Out of Child Find Manitoba, we grew into a national center really because of where we saw the intersection of technology and child abuse. We started seeing children going missing for different reasons, whether it was being an online luring or being sexually exploited online, and we really started to take a look around the world and try to determine what other developed countries were doing to address this issue. So this is where we started to take a look at what is really the scope of the problem regarding child sexual abuse and how it intersects with technology. You may be familiar with cybertip.ca. This is our the first national program that we launched back in 2002. And cybertip is now written into federal legislation, and we receive reports from the Canadian public on online child exploitation under the 8 criminal code offenses that you see up there on the screen. It's our job as our analysts to review the reports that are received from the public and to triage those reports to the appropriate policing service to make sure that police are only receiving those reports that they can actually action within their own jurisdiction. So we also work internationally with a number of different hotlines that also perform similar functions to our hotline here in Canada. So through cybertip.ca, because we are on the front lines of receiving those reports, we really have a good understanding of what child sexual abuse looks like. To give you an idea of how many reports we're receiving on an annual basis, we on average receive about 3,500 reports a month. So as you can imagine, we're really getting some not only really good data out of that, but also being able to intervene and work with police to rescue children. Which is what you can see up there on the screen. Now, the 500 plus arrests and the 490 children removed from abusive environments, those seem like small numbers, but when you look at each individual case and children rescued for those environments, it's really quite a large number and one that we're very proud of. In terms of the, as I was saying, the cybertip, because we are at the forefront of receiving those reports, we're really in a position to be able to look at what is going on and what does child sexual abuse look like. When the public hears the term child pornography, I don't think anybody in the general public really understands what that means, and nor should they. The general public, thinks child pornography is a 16-year-old girl flashing on screen, and while that in and of itself is an incredibly serious situation, that's not necessarily what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis reported through the tip line. So this past year, we released an updated analysis of the reports that we'd received between 2008 and 2015. And what we saw was alarming, to say the least. So 78% of the images that we analyzed depicted children that were under the age of 12 years old. So very young children we were seeing in these images, and a very, very high proportion of them appeared to be being abused in a home setting. Again, when we're looking at people that have access to young children, it's not really a surprise when you put those numbers together. But the actions that were being taken against these children, which we saw over 50% were being victims of severe sexual assaults, it's very alarming. And we really think it's important to therefore take some steps to educate those people who may be intersecting with these children on a daily basis, whether it be educators, police officers, daycares, Head Start programs, and those sorts of programs. We also, because of what we were seeing through our survey, or through our research, we also really began to realize that we don't have a good understanding of what victims who are victims of child pornography are actually experiencing. We don't know enough about this population, what they're experiencing, what needs they have, and how this impacts their life as they grow into adults. So this past year, we actually released a first of its kind survivor survey of now adult victims of child pornography. So many of you may have seen the announcement of Project Arachnid and the survivor survey summary results that we released last month. And this is, if you haven't seen it, I really encourage you to go to our website and take a look at that, because what we're learning from these adult survivors is really, really significant, and it's going to really impact our work as an agency going forward, and we're hopefully inform some of the other practices of organizations like therapy, counseling, and policing. Project Arachnid, like I'd mentioned, if you guys aren't familiar with Arachnid, it's a very, very recent tool that we've released. It's been working in sort of its beta phases over the past year, and what the tool does is it takes previously reported links that we know host prepubescent child pornography, and then we use the hash values, which is essentially the fingerprint of a photograph that are previously reported to police from the Interpol database and from the database within the RCMP, and we put those two together, and then Arachnid crawls the internet and locates anywhere where that photo is located, whether it be on the publicly available internet or on the dark web. And so you can see from the numbers up there, what we saw, this was over a 6-week period. Over a 6-week period, we actually located over 40,000 unique images of online child sexual abuse. So, when we start to think, hear from the public, do we really think child pornography is a problem? Well, this is really underscoring not only that child pornography and child sexual abuse is a problem, but that we need to take some action to try to reduce the content that's available online, which is what Project Arachnid does. So Arachnid is a victim-centered model. It is, because they're previously reported to police, there's not really a role for law enforcement in this project. But what we then do as an agency is send out a notice and take down to the hosting provider of that content and have them remove the content from the internet. So we've had a very good success rate in that. Over the past year, we have about a 95% success rate over a 48-hour period of having that content removed from the internet. So really, really important steps that are being taken to really protect and choke off the availability of this content online. This gives you an idea of some of the work that we do with law enforcement and what that actually looks like tangibly. So our cyber tip received a number of reports through the tip line that ended up being connected to Toronto Police's Project Spade. So Project Spade was a huge, huge arrest that was made in 2011, and the significance of this really came from the people that were being arrested that were connected to this project. We saw teachers and service providers, social workers, doctors, and all these people that have access and are working with children, and that was really, really sort of a slap in the face for the public who may not have known that this is an issue or that it's that prevalent of an issue. So our organization, when Project Spade was announced, we actually were invited by Toronto Police to participate in the announcement to really talk about that importance of reporting from the Canadian public, but also to talk about what can organizations do to better protect the children in their care. So we really, when we went up there, we were talking about our Commit to Kids program and our Teach Retells program, which I'll get a little bit more into. So, this is something that, Project Spade was a huge arrest with a very large number of people involved, but at the same time, we see these headlines every single day. And when these headlines happen, they're very scary for organizations, they're scary for parents. So what do we do as service providers to help mitigate that risk to children? Because we know, and people in this room know, that the large majority of people working with children are good and are well-intentioned and are there to protect children. So we really try to stay away from the fear-based programs, and so we built Commit to Kids. Some of you may be familiar with Commit to Kids, some of you may not be, but it's a program for child-serving organizations that helps them better protect the children in their care through good hiring practices, through really strong codes of conduct, through transparent reporting policies. And it really, one of the things that we often hear from people is they're so scared to accuse anybody, and it becomes about protecting ourselves as adults when we're working with kids, when really it should be the other way around, that adults are protecting the kids in their care through these practices. So what Commit to Kids can really help separate is separating the behavior from the character of the individual. So if somebody's breaking boundaries with a child, they may be totally well-intentioned. They might see a teen and say, you know what, that teen's really struggling at home, and so I'm going to give them my cell phone number and I'm going to text with them because that's really going to help them, get through this tough time. When what we can look at here is that that's a boundary-breaking behavior. That person's not ill-intentioned necessarily, but they might be opening the door for somebody that is ill-intentioned towards that youth. So Commit to Kids would really help that organization put the policies in place to say, you know what, that behavior is not allowed within our organization. We're not attacking your character as a person. We believe in your well-intentions, but the behavior is being interrupted. So it really takes the blame and the scariness out of that conversation for adults that are working with kids. We also have really just made this program a little bit more accessible. We now offer online training, and we actually piloted the online training in Ontario and had a really incredible success rate in terms of information retention and understanding of the issues surrounding child sexual abuse. The whole program itself, the Commit to Kids program, is $75 for the entire program, and the online training is $12 per person, or we will do larger group rates as well. So in terms of affordability for organizations, very, very affordable, and we also pursue a number of grants that allow us to offer this training for free for certain organizations. So if you guys have organizations that you're working with as police officers, or you're working in an organization that you think could utilize this training, please let me know. For policing, this is a way that police have used our Commit to Kids program. So Toronto Police actually got a grant to purchase a number of programs, and they distributed them to all the organizations that they were investigating, because so often we hear from these organizations, well, we did a criminal record check, we did a child abuse registry check, what else do you want us to do? We don't know what else we can do. So this is a program that Toronto Police was then able to say, here you go, here's some extra steps that you can take as an organization. So moving into sort of more the school-based programs, we also have a national education program called Kids in the Know. So Kids in the Know is a curriculum-based program. It meets the curricular outcomes of the physical education and health curriculum. And it's based right from kindergarten straight through to high school. And all the lessons are age-appropriate. They build upon our 7 root safety strategies. And what they're able to do is they're able to transcend the different environments that we know kids are involved in. So they talk about everything from your online safety to your home safety, babysitting safety, and everything sort of in between. This program has been around since the late 90s with our organization, and it's gone through a lot of different iterations, and we're really striving to continually keep it up to date with what kids are facing today. Just to give you a bit of an idea of the Ontario context for Kids in the Know, we did go through a fairly lengthy process in terms of evaluating the program within the Ontario context, as you can see, including a pilot and including an OFIA strategy overview. So this program, it is being used all across the province in a number of different school divisions, and we are continually adding to that list. So I'd mentioned before our 7 root safety strategies. So this is what our whole program is built on. So it goes, like I said, right from kindergarten straight through to high school, building upon those age-appropriate strategies. But for example, you'll see up there the buddy system. So the buddy system is something that we talk about with kids from kindergarten with Billy Brings His Buddy program, all the way up to high school when kids are going to parties, and we talk about the buddy system in high school in that different context. So it really it uses consistent language, and it uses consistent strategies, all that we're constantly building upon. This is a really good example of where we're looking at current issues that are facing our teens. This is an addendum that we added to the program about 5 years ago, which are cyberbullying modules. Our organization, you'll see from our programs, is we really sort of try to stay in our lane. We know our expertise, and we don't like to stray away from our expertise. Like, you won't see us out there talking about bike safety. That's just not us. But so we really stayed away from the bullying space for a really long time because we didn't feel that we were the experts to be talking about that. Now, where we have come into the bullying space really is with the intersection of technology and bullying. We saw a number of youth, like Rotea Parsons or Amanda Todd, who were exploited through an online means. And so we really, saw the avenue for us to step in and to provide some resources for teachers and for parents in relation to this issue. So the grade 7, 8, and the grade 9, 10 modules really start to address some of those issues of boundaries, of sexual consent, of healthy relationships, and they talk about it in a real way. We use real examples of things that youth are facing, about talking, using alcohol, experimenting with partying, all those sorts of things that we know is day-to-day real life. So in terms of your district, if you guys, here's some of the districts that we are working with Kids in the Know, or that are using the program district-wide. If you don't see your district up there, that doesn't necessarily mean that individual schools within your district aren't using the program. We have a number of individual schools that have taken it on. But if you do see your district up there, I'd really encourage you to circle back if you're not familiar with the program and find out how they're using it. This is something that we're constantly trying to, expand the reach and expand the use of the program, and we really look to people like you guys to help us champion that program with schools and with organizations. For our youth officers in the room, we have a number of presentations that we've specifically created for officers when they go into schools to do work with youth. So we have 4 different presentations that range from grade 3, 4, all the way up to grade 9, 10. They have accompanying speaking notes, and they also come with free resources that you can utilize in your presentations. We've been getting some really good feedback on these presentations. They're used coast to coast. Most recently, the feedback that I got from Vancouver Police Service was that the youth absolutely love the lesson plans. It makes it really simple and straightforward for you guys when you're going into the classroom. And it also helps provide some of that consistency of messaging if your school is also using the Kids in the Know program. Now, if they're not using Kids in the Know, these presentations can be used as a standalone, but when we then, encourage you to talk to your school about also implementing our Kids in the Know. In terms of online safety, we were starting to see reports come in through the tip line about probably 5, 6 years ago with the youth being the reporting person and the victim. So we had youths that were victims of sexting incidences, or their photo had been shared online, and they were coming to CyberTip saying, "You need to help me. I don't know what to do. I don't want to talk to my parent, but I just want this content down." So we started working with educators and law enforcement across the country to build a guide that really helps schools and law enforcement and parents walk through step by step, how do you handle a sexting incident when it comes to light in the school environment. We were seeing there wasn't a lot of consistency from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and so we built the guide to help really to go through step by step. This guide is available for free for any law enforcement or educator that wants to have it, so please don't hesitate to reach out. It's the family portion, and the resource guide is also available to download for free for parents from our website. And then in accompanying this guide, we also have needhelpnow.ca, which is more directed towards youth and parents. Again, we wanted to have that area for youth to come and determine what steps they can take to mitigate these incidences or to deal with it once it's happened. So how do they get their photos down from Facebook? How do they help a friend that's really struggling? How do they even start that conversation with their parent? All those questions are answered for youth on this website. One of the things that's really neat about our center is that everything that we create is all done in-house. So we have everything from graphic design to writers to legal, all within our building. And so our legal team had a huge hand in this website, and they were able to go through the terms of use of Facebook and Twitter and all those other social media apps that where youth are posting pictures, and they were able to actually write form letters that youth can take and input their information and send to the service to try to get their photo down. So it really helps youth be more successful when they're trying to get their information down off the internet. We also, we know that these issues are changing at a very rapid pace. It's something that, we even as an organization, we struggle to keep on top of. So when we see new and emerging issues that are coming to light that really affect parents and children, we're sending out this information through what's called our cyber tip alerts. So anybody who signed up would have actually gotten one yesterday about the online game Roblox. And we do send those out on a regular basis, just sort of as a heads up for parents. This is one that I just thought was particularly funny when the Pokemon Go craze was in full force last year, and we had a lot of concerned parents coming to us talking about the safety aspects of the app and how they go about putting those safety parameters in place. And so we've sent out a cyber tip alert regarding Pokemon Go. We have, like I had mentioned, a number of free online resources. Most of our resources are free for police. So if you guys are looking for resources to use in your community work, whether you're out and about in the community or doing presentations, please don't hesitate to give me a shout. We also have a great number of our resources for free download from our website. So that is from protectchildren.ca or from kidsintheknow.ca is where most of our resources live. So in terms of getting involved, there's a number of ways for services to get involved. I know that we have services from right across Ontario in this room, and a number of you I work with already in various capacities. But these are a couple of examples of how we've worked with other services to actually do joint initiatives. So Edmonton Police recently redid their DARE program, and they now use what's called Safe in 6, and they use our Kids in the Know resources as a part of their Safe in 6 program. And so we worked with them to actually brand our Smart, Strong, and Safe booklet with the EPS logo, and it goes out with all of their presentations for Safe in 6. We also worked with St. Jerome Police Service to do an addendum for our SPECS guide, which is our self-peer exploitation guide that deals with sexting. And they wanted to create a kit for their officers that were going out into the community and dealing with these issues. So we worked with them through a licensing agreement to actually rebrand and repackage that booklet for their specific purposes. There's also lots and lots of ways of sharing information. We have a number of mailing lists that we encourage people to sign up for, but there's also so many ways within your organizations to share information. I know particularly with policing, your specialized units are so busy, and it's really sometimes hard to share the information beyond your specific unit, not only with other units, but also with General Patrol, who are often intersecting with these issues on an everyday basis. So looking, just to spark the ideas, looking at different ways that your service has to share that information. This is an example of a protocol that a note that was sent out through Treaty 3 Police, who we recently signed a formalized agreement with. And Treaty 3, we designed this email that went out for Treaty 3 Police to send out to all of their members. So again, that's sort of their way of sharing information, but if there's other ways that your service is able to share information, please let me know, and I can help design either specific PDFs or specific web buttons that you guys can put up on your sites. We also really encourage you to utilize social media. If anybody in here is taking photos for social media, you can absolutely share my photo. Just please make me look nice, because talking photos suck. So make sure you make me look good. This is a common way of sharing information, and it's real time. It gets the information out there, and it's something that we're seeing more and more from policing. 2 weeks ago, I actually presented at the Ontario Media Relations Officers Network meeting, and this was a huge topic of conversation of how we get the information out there, and all their social media officers are really utilizing the Twitter and Facebook, but also their community and their youth and their school resource officers are also on these social media apps, and it's really getting the word out there. We also do a number of different presentations and training. I travel quite a bit. I'm always available to come out and speak to your services. If you guys have either specific meetings or you would like to gather a group together. Tomorrow I'm actually going to be in Halton meeting with a number of inspectors that would intersect with our organization to talk about our resources and how we can more closely partner. So I'm always happy to come out to whatever meetings you guys have going on. And then we also host a conference every year called the Missing and Exploited Children's Conference. It's May 16th to the 18th this year, and we've got a really, really good lineup of speakers. So if you have, the capacity to attend another training, would really encourage you guys to reach out to us on that one. And then we're always looking at changing and moving our resources forward for law enforcement. So one of the things that we're working on right now with the OPP is actually creating what we're calling an assessment tool for child exploitation and human trafficking. So we've got through a grant the OPP received. Our organization created the blue card that you see there that will be handed out to the general patrol officers. So we know that children and youth they can be identified children and youth that are at risk of exploitation can be identified through these everyday encounters, whether it's a traffic stop, whether it's a child that's not showing up to school, whether it's a noise complaint in a hotel. There's so many different opportunities to intervene in these situations. And so we've worked with OPP to create this card that will be going out in conjunction with a public awareness campaign. And then we're also creating, which will be up shortly probably over the next 2 or 3 weeks, a specialized law enforcement website that will be standalone from the rest of our websites, and will have it'll be a one-stop shop for everything that officers need in terms of our resources. And I know I've talked a lot about our law enforcement role, that's sort of where my lens comes from, but for our educators and our other service providers in the room, we have an entire education team that works with schools and works with child serving organizations every single day, and can also come out and do different presentations on issues that we see on that side of the house. So I can connect you with the right people if you're looking for some more information there. And that's the end of what I've got for you guys. I'm going to be sticking around for the rest of the day and into the reception, but unfortunately have to head out for tomorrow. So if anybody has any questions or would like to come and chat, or if I've emailed with you or spoken to you on the phone and we haven't met in person, please come and introduce yourself.